Hello, my name is Margaret Adele, and welcome to the May Report, where we discuss how my reading did in May. And it was pretty good. I was a little nervous coming off of my rest month in April, where I only read 6 books, and I was really nervous, like, crap, is that actually a rest month and I'm gonna bounce back? Or am I just in a horrible slump now? And thankfully, the rest month worked. That combined with the excitement of Escape the Readathon, which, yes, excuse you, my team did win. As the prophecy foretold, you're welcome. I read almost triple the books in May that I read in April, reading 17. So I think we're good. I think we can call the rest month a success. And I'm thinking that I might deploy it again maybe in December when I'm already close to review requests. So if you ever want to try that, just put a cap on your reading 1 month to give yourself a rest period and you can bounce right back. But that was the good news. Bad news. Had some problems with the budget to the extent that I am giving up the budget challenge. Now, for those of you who have to be like, no, the economy is already so bad. What are you doing? My Thrifty Reader challenge was particularly intense. My book budget for the entire month was $30. And I had never tracked my budget for books that specifically, so I didn't really know exactly how much I spent on average. And I thought 30 would be a little bit less than usual, but not by very much. But it's just kind of become an issue. That being said, I'm not going to be like, throw it all away, buy as many books as I want. My books have been folded into my fun money budget. Both me and my husband get a specific set of money from the budget that is just for whatever fun stuff we want to do, and books fit into that. But also things like new clothes, if I want to go out and get myself a fancy coffee treat, or flute lessons also come out of there. So I'm not going to go crazy. The very notion that I have to spend that money for other things too is going to keep me from going too far out. But there's authors on Itch.io that I want to get more books from. There are new sites that I need to go to for my Going Wide taste test video series that I still have not done the second episode for. I swear, it's summer break. I'm gonna work on it, I swear. But I'm not gonna go crazy. I am still going to track where my books come from, even the ones that I don't pay for, what my biggest sources are, how many of the books that I get am I reading in that year. I'm also really proud of myself. As of right now, I only have 1 book that I got in 2024 left to read, and then every other book on my own TBR will be from this year. Because if you've been around my channel for a second, you know I hit that 0 TBR last year, and I have been obsessed with never having a TBR problem again, never going back to the giant amounts. And I think right now my own TBR is sitting at 20. So we're doing pretty good. I'm staying on top of it. But also that means that I'm just not naturally going to be bringing in giant amounts of books. But, you know, if I go to, we'll talk about it, but if I go to other fairs like the one I went to in May, I want the wherewithal to spend some money. Yeah, sure, that's a phrase. Regardless, let's jump into the budget in specifics. So, my downfall was all from a specific day in May. I'd been on Facebook looking at the local events. That's literally the only thing I use Facebook for, okay? I gotta know when the local queer-friendly coffee kiosk puts out their new menu for the month. I saw that there was something called a Scholastic Book Fair for adults. And it wasn't even a question. I was going to go. Formerly called the Boozy Book Fair, it was a bunch of bookish vendors at a brewery. Now, I don't drink, so I didn't have that added expense, but I saved the majority of my fun money budget for the month for that, because I knew I would want it. And we'd had to cancel a couple of flute lessons for various reasons, so I had the extra funds. And I loved it. I didn't spend much time there because it was pretty crowded, and even bookish things like crowds are still kind of in for me. But I did discover that there's another local independent bookstore in the general vicinity of me, and I'm a Midwesterner, so like if it's under an hour and a half drive, it's in my vicinity. But so I'm really excited to put that on my list of bookstores to visit. And I got to talk to the owner of the queer local bookstore that I went to for Independent Bookstore Day in April and hear how it went. And spoiler, it went fantastic. They were literally overwhelmed with the sheer amount of support and the sheer amount of restocking they had to do because their shelves were so bare. We love to see it, but I I don't buy a lot of books new for a reason because it's really hard to stick to a very tiny budget and buy books new. But I got 3 books, 2 of them new, and then one of them was used in a blind date with a book. And then after, because we tend to keep all of our shopping trips on like specific days so that we can budget for that whole day and don't risk spending little extra amounts by going repeatedly. We then went to the mall for something else. But the mall has a Barnes & Noble. And I was like, I should get the next 2 installments of Spy Family while I'm here. And I did. And so I ended up spending $94 in one day. I think that is the most I've ever... No, I take that back. It is the second highest I've ever spent on books in one day. My absolute highest actually broke 100, and that was only because it was a local indie author event where you were talking to all the indie authors, and I don't say no very well. There's a reason that I'm very slow to walk up to an author's table because I'm like, I don't know how to get myself out of it. But regardless, that was the second highest amount of money I've spent on books in one day ever. But to go more broadly into the sourcing, I have spent a total of $197.31 for the entire year so far, which is a little under $40 a month, which is still pretty good. Not as much as I was planning on spending for the year with my challenge, but decent. But more happy for me is the fact that out of the 65 books I have gotten from various sources this year, not just bought, but review books or from things that I am judging for, etc., I have gotten 65, and I have already read or DNF and unhauled 46 of them. Over 70%. So I'm staying real on top of it. One of my goals moving forward is to start like picking, okay, every book left from X month. Let's get those all read up. So I'm hoping to stay even more on top of it. I'm not going to lie. It would be kind of fun to see like, can I get every book from 2025 finished by the end of the calendar year? I might try that challenge. Regardless, another big win for me was the fact that I donated blood again, and the gift card was even bigger from it this time because I donated on a holiday weekend and the rewards tend to be higher. So I have plenty of money sitting in gift cards for Amazon, so I don't gotta spend nothing for book buying from them for quite a while, which is great because I did finish Dungeon Crawler Carl and I loved it and I want to continue the series. So a lot of that money is probably going to go to audiobooks, let's be clear. But regardless, let's move on to the challenges. Now, for series tracking, I made a ton of progress in April, which was strange because I read so little, but literally everything I read was for a series, and I DNF'd a couple. So we were looking really good, and then I started a new series in May. And thankfully, I felt like I was about to start a new series in June too, but then I was like, oh, this was a good book, but I'm actually not feeling the urge to continue. So we are currently sitting at 18 series, still working on. I am not up to date in 13 of those, so 13 of those have installments I need to get to, which still leaves me with a total of 56 books. Because your girl likes herself a long series. I am getting close to finishing several of them. I am so close to finishing Amelia Peabody, and I don't want to because I've been working on that series for so long, even though I'm pretty sure like that the books I have left are actually taking place earlier in the timeline and that the last book I read was the farthest in the timeline of like the actual character story. I'm not sure specifically, but I'm going to keep working on that one. I want to finish at least 5 series this year, and I'm already up to 3. I might up it to like 7. Regardless, for Nat Galley, no movement on this one. Still, don't know when we're going to see movement on this one, but like I said, it's not a priority for me. So I'm at 75% of my ratio. Still have 1 arc out, which is all about hand sewing. And so I'm really hoping sometime this summer to do a I sewed a skirt to review a book video where I actually go through, do one of the patterns, and hand sew an article of clothing on camera. None of you are allowed to make fun of the way I sew because I know I don't do it correctly, but these hands work weird sometimes. Now, for the 52 Book Club Challenge, I made a little progress without really intending to. Just participating in the readathon, some things just happened to work. So I am currently sitting at 67% completed as of writing this. I've actually already finished another book. At this point, I could probably finish it by September, October. And then I legit might pick up other challenges later because I have been feeling the choice paralysis lately of like, oh, what do I pick up next? But regardless, sitting pretty with most of my challenges that I kept. Haven't made any progress getting any squares crossed off in the bingo board from hell. But again, those squares aren't meant to be easily crossed off. I do think I can get the audiobook one soon though. We'll try it. Regardless, let's move on to the notable reads. We are bringing back the negative notable read for May, mostly because I read enough to have a negative book and I was in a general good mood, mild Bell's palsy aside, to know that it wasn't my fault that I felt that way. And actually, I read this before I got the Bell's palsy, so it counts even more. And that is Siren in the Deep Blue Sea by Carolyn Sparks. This is the 5th and final book in the Embraced series, the fantasy romance series. It is not whatever it says on the apps. I don't know what Goodreads and Storygraph has this as. It is the 5th and final book in its series, not anything else. But regardless, I enjoyed every other book in this series. And I'm not saying it's the most perfect series, but it did what I needed it to do. The problem with this one is the author kind of skipped what she did best and relied on the writing points that are her weakest, and it made all of those weaknesses all the more stark because she is best at pining and yearning and wanting between a romantic pair. But in this one, both of the protagonists were side characters pretty much every other book. They were both introduced in book 1 as side characters. And so the book was like, oh yeah, BTW, these characters have already been in love with each other, and all of the pining and yearning was done off page. So the best part about this author's writing style, not there, but instead we're going to focus on taking down the big, mysterious Circle of Five, the antagonists of this series, which made all of the author's weaknesses stand out very starkly because all of the characters were magically omniscient. Like, all of them. They could be, standing on the ground, ready to go do the thing. They see an explosion up in a tower, and they're like, oh, well, clearly that's the character, da-da-da-da-da. Clearly that's fine, and I don't need to go check on my friend that I know is in that tower, because that would be a side quest they can't afford for the page count, so they just magically know that it's okay. It did feel like it was doing a little bit too much to wrap up everything in this one, I'm not gonna lie. But also, my biggest frustration was the author gave such repetitive information. The second something was revealed to one character, you had to see that same reveal given to every other character that came across that information. It was all stated verbatim in the dialogue over and over and over again, so you could watch all of these new characters finding out. And at one point, it ruined what was very clearly supposed to be a dramatic reveal, right? One of the antagonists sauntering up the protagonist like, oh, didn't you know? I am da-da-da-da-da. And it was so clearly supposed to be like a gasp moment, but that same information had already been discussed by like 2 other characters in the book in like several other chapters. So I'm like, why was that set up to be such a dramatic moment when it was just the same information again? Like, I'm not gonna lie, I am a really big stickler for endings. I will take entire stars off a book if the ending doesn't stick the landing. So I am bummed that this was such a I wish we could have seen more of the growth of the romance on the page. I wish we could have seen just more emphasis on them specifically. There was an entire side romance that none of the other books had. Like, they didn't try to shove an entire extra romance in a book earlier in the series, so I don't know why it happened here. Again, it just felt very rushed, and it let all of the author's weaknesses stand in very stark contrast without the strength there. So I am a little nervous about picking up this author's book, even though I know she's a staple of the schlocky mass market paperback paranormal romance set, and that is my jam. So maybe I'll wait a little bit and then give her another chance then. The positive notable read is a unicorn for me. It's a very big rarity. And I might have to hand in my hipster card because not only did I read a hyped book, a book that is like exploding into popularity, I agree with the hype. It's not, okay, in my defense, if I might keep my hipster card, it is a hipster genre, and I would have loved it regardless of the hype. I would have gone for this book regardless of the hype, okay? And that is Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. It's a comedy lit RPG. Okay, I would have lit RPG as a hipster genre. I will stick to that, and I already like humor books, okay? So I'm keeping my hipster card. Regardless, this is all about a world in which aliens have come to Earth. It's technically not an invasion, but I can't explain why it's not without getting way too deep into the lore. But they flatten the entire Earth, all buildings just down, and they use all of that material to magically build a dungeon. And the surviving humans, if they want to continue surviving, must go into that dungeon to participate in a reality TV show that is filmed and broadcasted to an entire galaxy. Our friend Carl ends up in the dungeon in a pair of Crocs and his boxers with a talking cat. You'll find out why the cat talks in the story. But it is the goofiest thing, and I genuinely believe that this is the lit RPG for people that don't like lit RPGs, because it skips a lot of kind of one of my biggest issues with lit RPGs, and that is you will often see giant menus of repetitive text. Like, they will put the menu in there, right, of all the abilities or whatever, and they just copy and paste that same thing over and over and over again, and really just emphasize the numbers and spam the numbers constantly. Not the best part of a lit RPG. Like, I love advancement. I love level ups in fantasy and sci-fi as much as the next nerd. But this one knows how much to pull back from emphasizing the numbers. So, like, maybe if you are a number-heavy lit RPG fan, you might not like this one. But if you're like, oh, I don't know about lit RPGs, but, like, I'm kind of interested, this is the one to check out. I actually did get it back in January and read, like, half of it. And I don't know why I stopped. I think I was just overwhelmed with the amount of books I wanted to get to. I mean, I read 18 in January. But I'd been told over and over again, the audiobook is where it's at. You gotta go with the audiobook. The performances in the audiobook are the best way to take in the story, and they were right. I finally broke down. I was like, I want to get this book finished because I want to finish all of my books from January. Let's go to the audiobook. And the first time the announcer voice went, new achievement. I was like, okay, iconic. Like, it's so good. It does have a lot of toilet humor and a lot of silly parts, but it's also like weirdly emotional at times. Like, Carl is saying to himself repeatedly, you will not break me. This evil alien corporation forcing them through this. He goes, you can make me do horrible stuff. You could kill me. You will not break my spirit. And I'm like, okay, depth of emotion. Like, and also his relationship with the cat should not be as adorable as it is. Fucking love Princess Donut. Her voice in the audiobook too is so good. Carl. So good. So yes, I agree with the hype. I will be continuing in this series, probably all in audiobook. Really glad I got all those gift cards because I do not want to give Audible that much money. I already gave up my Audible subscription for a reason, but goddamn Amazon and their stupid exclusivity agreements for indie book authors. Also, I'm also really hoping that this does not make lit RPG the new trendy genre, because I don't trust what mainstream publishing is going to do with it. I'm still fucking mad what they do with every other trendy genre they get their hands on. Okay, I'm not over what they did to feminist retellings or cozy fantasy. Get your hands off lit RPGs. Let this just be a unicorn. Let this just be a one-time fun thing and then fade away. Okay? But yes, big fan. I'm hoping I can see more comps for this one, because I do just love this style of lit RPG that's still numbers, still leveling up, still progression, but pulls back on the minutia and the repetitiveness that has always been my biggest gripe with lit RPGs. If this makes a new wave of that in the indie space, I'm a fan, but Trab Publishing can stay the fuck away. And now on to my goals for June. I want to really hammer review books, because I just did the math, and of that 20 book owned TBR, half is review books. I am so far behind. And several of them I've already partially begun. So I want to finish everything I have started and just several more beyond to get caught up. I also want to finish reading all of the books sourced in January and 2024, which of course I only have one book left from 2024. So that should be simple. If that goes well, I also want to tag on February with that and get that all caught up. But I'm not going to push it too hard. At least not any harder than I'm already pushing myself, because I do want to read 200 pages a day now that I'm on summer break, but I do still got other stuff going on. And third is actually a secret thing. I have a secret goal, a very large video that I want to put out this month with its own little announcement. And I'm kind of nervous to say anything about it here because I feel like I'm jinxing myself, but I will say indie authors will be very happy about it. I will say that much. I know for a fact indie authors will be very happy with that announcement. But regardless, I'm feeling really good about May. I'm feeling really good about summer break. And just in general, I'm hoping I can hit the ground running. I don't intend on breaking my record of 18 books a month just yet, although I am happy with how close I've come to it multiple times, and I guess summer break would be the time to do it. I can't go many places this summer. We have to be really frugal this year, so I'll have a lot of extra time. Regardless, I would love to know how your month went reading wise. You can drop that down in the comments. Did you read any notable books, either good or bad? How much have you spent on books in one day? Let's make ourselves sad with our poor budget choices. And with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.